What is going on, everyone? Hope you all had a great Memorial Day weekend. But last week, before Memorial Day weekend, something came out. Mina Kimes, who many of you already know, spoke about the Detroit Lions on, I believe it was NFL Live, where she is on quite a bit. And they talked about the Detroit Lions and specifically a big problem that Mina feels is very present with the Lions. And it has to do with the most obvious discussion, the thing that fans keep talking about, media keep talking about, including us. And it's the biggest storyline for the Detroit Lions. And it's really, it has to do with the other edge rusher opposite of Hutch. And I know before you even see the video, you're going to be like, oh, here we go again, talking about the other side of Hutch, why it's a problem. But Mina dove into why she thinks it may be a problem. And I want to play this clip and kind of share my thoughts on why I kind of agree and kind of disagree. But first, let's take a listen to what Mina Kimes had to say. You can hear for yourself.
Talk about the blitzing, how much they had to, and whether or not they can rush with four. It really does tie back to the run defense quietly being an issue. And this was an issue, by the way, throughout the season, even before Aidan Hutchinson got injured. Because if they can get into more third and longs with the help of that run defense, then it'll be easier for those four to rush the passer. You know, they still don't have that guy opposite Aidan Hutchinson, another opposite pass rusher who's really emerged. Josh Pascal's still in the lineup. You mentioned Davenport, who was last year, got injured. But I think situationally they can help whoever it is opposite Aidan Hutchinson by putting them in just better spots in third and longs.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Mina, he led, Hutchinson did, the Lions in sacks last season, and he only played 5 games.
Talk about the...
All right, so I'll say this on the whole, like, other side of Hutch argument discussion. All right, the Lions are a great team. There's not really any holes with this team. If you had to point out one thing that you'd probably be concerned about, it would be the other side of Hutch. I think it's completely fair to say that because you look at this roster. I mean, where else on the roster would you say is a hole? You know, there isn't really a hole on this roster. The only thing you'd really point out would be, again, like that Davenport not being healthy, like she mentioned. Josh, you know, you haven't really seen Josh flourish into the player you think he can be. But there's other things you're looking at. You're not looking at really the corner position, expecting Terran Arnold to take that jump. You're not looking at safety, you know, linebackers. They got good linebackers. I mean, you look at the offense, there's not really a weakness at all in the offense. Maybe you talk about the guards, but they address that through the draft, and you kind of like who they have. So again, the other side of Hutch is the obvious. It's a very tiring conversation. But what I will say is, do I believe Davenport will be healthy throughout the entirety of the season? I don't know. You know, I think that for someone to be optimistic that he will be, you know, credit to you, because throughout his career, he hasn't really been healthy. But I'll tell you one thing. They did draft Tyleik Williams. And what I think Tyleik Williams is going to do, and Mina kind of mentioned this when she was talking about it, is the run defense. This run defense is elite. Very good. It's always, the last 2 years, it's been top 5. It's been one of the best run defenses in the entire NFL. And Aleem McNeil's not going to be here to start the season, but you're going to have Tyleik Williams, who's one of the best run defenders in college and played in some very big games and was impactful for the rest of those guys on the defensive line. When you talk about Jack Sawyer, when you talk about JTT, those two edge rushers for Ohio State, they benefited from having a guy like Tyleik Williams, who, you know, is a sneaky good pass rusher. I mean, he had 5 sacks as a freshman at Ohio State. But he is an elite run-stopping defensive tackle that is very athletic, moves light on his feet. And I'm curious to see what he can bring in the NFL when it comes to rushing the passer. But I think drafting him, he helps Aidan Hutchinson. He does. He helps pretty much everyone on this defense because he's going to help you put opposing offenses into those third and long situations where you can rush the passer. You can blitz Jack Campbell. You can blitz Anzalone. You can let Hutchinson just get after the quarterback and disrupt plays, which he's going to consistently do throughout the year. I mean, Hutch is good against the run. He can get after the quarterback. But when you look at the other side, Davenport is really the biggest question mark when it comes to that other side of Hutch. Now, I still believe Tyleik's going to have a really big impact. And I think Ahmed Hassanin, I don't know about year 1, but I think over the next couple of years will develop into a pretty good player. But that's not going to happen immediately, in my opinion. I think, you know, we talked to Corey, his brother, and even he believes, just like we do, he can be very good. But year one, it's hard for this good of team for Ahmed to step right in and play a ton of snaps, even though we're all excited for him. So you're really looking at Davenport to really take over that role. And there's still plenty of time in the offseason to potentially sign someone to come and help. So, do I think this defensive line will be the downfall of this entire team? I don't know yet, because when Aleem McNeil gets back and you have Aleem and he looks relatively healthy, and you have a rookie Tyleik Williams, who I think can be very good, Hutchinson, DJ Reader throwing into that rotation, and then you have hopefully Davenport healthy, I think that can be a pretty good defensive line. It doesn't mean that Davenport's the solution, but I don't think he's going to be the single-handed downfall of this entire defensive line. Because if Davenport really is that important, and if he goes down and you can't rush the passer at all, then maybe Brad even overrated this defensive line. So I think it's going to be more than just Davenport. It's going to be Tyleik Williams. It's going to be obviously Hutch disrupting plays consistently, because the thing with Hutch is he's going to get so many double teams. But when you have Tyleik Williams, who's going to be taking double teams, he makes everyone else around him better, because everyone's going to have more one-on-one opportunities. And you guys know, quarterbacks, the worst thing for a quarterback is getting rushed from the interior. And if you have Tyleik and Aleem McNeil playing next to each other, I think that's going to be very disruptive on a week-to-week basis. So I'm not going to sit here and say that just because they didn't address defensive line in the draft or through free agency, they haven't re-signed Za'Darius, that they are screwed. I don't think so. I think every team, even the great ones, you can look and say, well, there's a weakness. You can say it's the other edge spot. But Davenport, when healthy, is not a bad player. It was never about a skill for him. It's not about his ability to play. It's just his ability to stay healthy. So I don't think it's as big of a concern as maybe some national people think it is, because I think Tyleik will be very impactful for the Lions this year as a rookie. But I really want your guys' thoughts on this. Is it that big of a concern to where you pretty much have lost faith in what this defensive line can do? Because I think, again, Aidan, Tyleik, Aleem when he comes back, DJ, and then a mix of guys at the other edge spot. And who knows? Maybe Ahmed can play early and play very well. I don't know. You obviously don't want to count on two rookies, but you might be in a situation where you have to if Davenport goes down. We shall see what happens with that. But comment down below, am I crazy for liking Tyleik that much? Do I think he makes this defensive line better? Or do you still think that edge spot is still a very big concern? Because, again, I'm not saying it isn't, but I think with Tyleik, with the other guys healthy, you're not going to really notice as much. Because, again, you look at some of these great teams. How many teams have two elite edges that are Super Bowl contenders? Like the Texans do, Daniil and Will Anderson. Great. The 49ers just drafted Michael Williams to pair with Nick Bosa. That's awesome. But the Chiefs, the Eagles, who were just in the Super Bowl last year, they didn't have two elite edge rushers. They had guys in the interior, Chris Jones and Jalen Carter, that can disrupt plays. And you have Aidan Hutchinson already. Now you have Tyleik. Now you have Aleem. So I don't think it's going to be as big of an issue as people think it will be. And God forbid it is, you expect Brad to go make a move at the deadline. Or sign someone in free agency, because there are some pretty good options still out there. But let me know your thoughts on that. Comment down below. And please tune in live tonight, 8 to 10 p.m. We'll be live talking about it and more. And again, credit to NFL Live for that footage as well with Mina Kimes. But until tonight, I will talk to you all. Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested, or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, officialctsports.com.